to recite the Quran, and more specifically recited the verse which I recited at the beginning of this majlis. It was that verse which stated, hasibta anna ashab al-kahfi wal-raqimi kanu min ayatina ajaba. That do you suppose that the people of the cave and the inscription were from amongst our astonishing signs? You see, when the head of the Imam recited this verse, it became a mandation upon us to reflect that why is it that the head of the Sayyid al-Shuhada began to recite this verse? From the first level, you find the historical angle is there. Is that when the head was carried in front of the women of Ahlul Bayt. And the people, they would look at the women. So Sayyid al-Shuhada, to distract that attention away, his head would recite the Quran. But you find the second reality of this recitation is this, is that the Imam, he goes to show that you are following the pan in this society. You are following that man whose father put the Quran upon a spear. But I am that reality, that when my head is upon a spear, I am reciting the Quran. That I am from that Ahlul Bayt, that there is no separation between us and the Quran. That wasn't it the case that on the day of Ghadir, when the announcement of Ali ibn Abi Talib was made, Rasulullah, he recited Hadith al-Thaqalain upon that day. He said, Inni tarikun fikum al-Thaqalain, Kitab Allah wa itrati ahli bayti. That I leave behind two weighty things. I leave behind the book of Allah and my progeny. You know, the tradition, it states, when they asked Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, they said to the Imam that upon the day of Ghadir, when your grandfather said Quran and Ahlul Bayt, how did he do the ishara and the signal? The Imam says that the fingers of my grandfather were like this upon the day of Ghadir. You see, each finger in Arabic has a name, sababa, wusta, until the end of it. The Imam, he says it was not a sababa and a wusta. It wasn't these two fingers. On the day of Ghadir, when he said Quran and Ahlul Bayt, it was these fingers. The companion, he says, "Oh Imam, what is the difference between this and this?" The Imam says, when you have these fingers, one is greater than the other. When my grandfather said Quran and Ahlul Bayt, he used those fingers which were equal in size. It goes to show that there is no separation between their reality. That's why Sayyid al-Shuhada, throughout his journey, time and time again, he would refer to the Quranic verses, he would refer towards the Quranic incidents. For example, when upon the 28th of Rajab he leaves Medina, he recited that same verse which Musa recited when Musa, he left the land of Pharaoh. Imam al-Hussein, he said, فَخَرَجَ مِنْهَا خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبُ قَالَ رَبِّي نَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. And when he left in fear, in a state of vigilance, he said, "Oh my Lord, save me from the oppressive people." That he said the same verse which Musa did. The Imam is going to show that my movement is a movement of the Quran. That when you want the progressive understanding my movement, that progression, it occurs through your understanding of the Quran. Imam Zainul Abidin salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Further than that, Imam Zainul Abidin would say that there was not a halting station except that my father would mention the incident of Yahya. That Yahya is that individual, the traditions, the hadith of Kamil al-Ziyarat, they state that there are only two individuals for whom the skies, they wept blood. One was Imam al-Hussein, the other is Yahya. The Imam, time and time again, he would mention these realities. Now when the head of the Imam recites the verse from Surah Al-Kahf, from the incident of Ashabul Kahf, it's upon us to reflect that what similarities are there between the people of the cave and the movement of Sayyid al-Shuhada. You find Ashabul Kahf were a group of individuals that in their time period there was a tyrannical ruler who was changing the deen, who was changing the sharia. So they made a movement to preserve the deen of Allah. Imam al-Hussein, he is going to show that there is a difference between their reality and my reality. Their movement was to preserve their own iman. But when I make a movement in a time where there is a tyrannical ruler who is changing the deen, my movement is to preserve the iman of the entire ummah of my grandfather. And you know, based on this line, the subject of analysis for this majlis is understanding the movement of Ashabul Kahf in order that we can understand the movement of Sayyid al-Shuhada. You know, this day which just passed is the day of Jummah. One of the recommended acts of the day of Jummah is to recite Suratul Kahf. Why? The tradition of Rasulullah states that this is that chapter that when you want to preserve your iman in Akhirul Zaman, it is upon you on the day of Jummah to recite Suratul Kahf. Because this is that chapter which prevents one from the afflictions of the Dajjal. And this is that chapter which is related to the movement of the 12th Imam, Imam Sahib al-Zaman, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. That this is that chapter which contains these realities. And after all, the movement of the 12th Imam in reality is the same as the movement of Sayyid al-Shuhada. That these two movements are two sides of the same coin. You know, doesn't the tradition of Imam al-Rida, that on the first of Muharram, when Rayhan ibn Shabib, he sees Imam al-Rida crying, he says, "Oh my master, why are you crying in this manner?" The Imam says, "Oh Yabna Shabib, do you not know that the moon of Muharram has been sighted?" At that point, Yabna Shabib, he says, "Oh my master, I didn't know that." The Imam, he says, "Yabna Shabib, in kunta baqiyan li shay'in fabki lil Husayn ibn Ali." He says, "Oh son of Shabib, if you ever want to cry, whether it's your broken heart that's making you cry, whether it's your problems and your trials making you cry, Yabna Shabib, if this world ever brings you to that point, then cry for my grandfather Hussein." Then he says, فَإِنَّهُ ذُبِحَ كَمَا يُذْبَحُ الْكَبْشِ. For my grandfather was slaughtered in the way that a sheep is slaughtered. Then he says, وَقُتِلَ مَاءَهُ ثَمَانِيَةَ عَشَرَ رَجُلٌ مَا لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ شَبِيهُونَ. He says alongside him there were 18 members of his family slaughtered, the likes of which the earth hasn't seen. Then he says that line which shows the connection between the movement of the 12th Imam and Imam al-Hussein. He says, Yabna Shabib, there were 4,000 angels that came to the support of my grandfather. When they saw that my grandfather was killed, they decided they would sit at that marqad, at that spot where he was killed, and they'll mourn until the day when Al-Qa'im he rises. You see, these are those angels that wait for the return of the Imam, signifying the movement and the connection between the movement of Imam al-Hussein and the movement of Sahib al-Zaman. You find this is that chapter Ashabul Kahf which has both of these realities. That who were Ashabul Kahf? You find they were those individuals. They lived in the time period of a tyrannical king. They lived near the end of the Roman Empire. They were the followers of the deen of Nabi Isa. They were al-Muwahidun. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayh. Imam al-Sadiq, he says these individuals, They had a high position within the government, but they left that position to preserve their iman, that they took refuge within the cave. You find from the beginning portion of this incident of Ashabul Kahf, we derive two lessons. The first lesson is this, is that Allah, He shows, O man, that even if you have to make a hijrah and a migration to preserve your iman, make that migration. You know, migration is of two types. There is a dhahiri and an external migration. There is a batini and an internal migration. You know, when Mullah Sadra, he wrote his famous work Asfar, he said that there were 4 journeys which man makes in his lifetime. The first journey that he makes is min al-khalq ila al-haq. That, oh man, you were created upon this world. But the first right of your movement and your journeying is that you journey towards your Creator, that you gain ma'rifah and recognition of your Creator. Then he says the second journey is fil haq bil haq. The second journey is that you journey in the realm of truth. You journey in that realm where you try to adopt the attributes of Allah. تَخَلَّقُوا بِأَخْلَاقِ اللَّهِ. You know, the tradition, it states that within the time period of Sulaiman, he heard that the queen of Sheba had a throne and she had a kingdom. So he said towards his people, that who can bring me the throne of Bilqis over here? At that point, the Quran, it says, قَالَ إِفْرِيتٌ مِّنَ الْجِنِّ. One of the jinn, he said, that I'll bring that throne before you stand up. But no, there was another man over there. The Quran, it says he had ilmun min al-kitab. That he had knowledge from the book. He didn't have knowledge of Al-Kitab, the book in its totality and its reality. They said to Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, that, oh Imam, that who was this man? The Imam said he was Asif bin Barkhia, the wasi of Sulaiman. So they said to Imam al-Baqir, that could Sulaiman not have brought the throne himself? Why did he have to ask someone else? The Imam says it is because Allah wanted, Sulaiman wanted, that his ummah recognizes the status of his wasi. You know, when people, they ask the question, that could Rasulullah not lift the door of Khaybar? The answer is the Prophet has that ability. But Rasulullah wanted his ummah to recognize the status of his wasi Ali ibn Abi Talib. Imam al-Baqir, he states, that Asif, who brought the throne from one side of the world to the other, that Asif, he had 1 out of 73 Asma'ul A'adam. Then the Imam, he gives the list. He says Nabi Ibrahim had 14. Isa had 2. Adam had 24. He says us Ahlul Bayt have 72 out of 73 Asma'ul A'adam. You know what this tradition means? This tradition, it means that Ahlul Bayt, they made that journey in the attributes of Allah. That they were the madhar of the sifat of Allah. They were the manifestations of the attributes of Allah. You find this is that second journey. The third migration in the life of man is min al-haq ila al-khalq bil-haq. You know, your first journey was towards Allah. But now, O mankind, once you have adopted these attributes, your next journey is to serve the creation of Allah as well. That they have a haqq upon your shoulder. I remember on the day of Siffin, there was a munafiq, he comes towards the Imam. He says, Ya Ali, what is Islam? If I asked you, what is Islam? You'd start a 30, 40, 1 hour discussion. The Imam says Islam is very simple. It is huququllah wa huququl abd. It is the right of Allah and the right of His creation. The Imam summarizes the responsibility of man in 2 sentences. Then the 4th journey of man is within that creation. You know the hadith, it says that when somebody wants to enter the next level of Iman, he won't be able to enter that next level until he takes a mu'min with him and he elevates him. You find this is that journeying which man does. And you find within this chapter, Ashabul Kahf, they made a journey, and every of the incidents in this chapter, they represent journeying. Because within this chapter, you find 3 incidents. You find the encounter between Musa and Khidr. You find Ashabul Kahf, you find Dhul Qarnayn. Dhul Qarnayn, he migrates from the east to the west. Musa, he migrates to find that alim who had ilm ladunni. You find Ashabul Kahf, they made a migration. But the second lesson which we derive from the beginning of this incident is that it goes to show that those individuals who are upon Iman, that they will be in the minority, they will face challenges and trials within their life. You know, Amir al-Mu'mineen, a person comes up to the Imam. After the Imam, he takes his position as Khalifa. You know, the Imam, he gave a sermon. He said, "O people, everyone who took money from the Baytul Mal unjustly, I will take that money back. Even to the extent that if your fathers had paid the dowries of your mother from that money, I will take it back." Then the Imam, he says, "I will remove all of those governors who were in immoral regimes before me." You know, Ibn Abbas, he comes to the Imam. He says, "Oh my master, if you leave Muawiyah in his position, it will be better for the stability of the Muslim Ummah." But the Imam, he gives a reply which shows the principles of the Imam. He says to Ibn Abbas, yes, it may be the case that the Ummah may have stability, but I have a responsibility towards the haqq, towards the truth. It goes to show that one of the reasons why the followers of the truth are limited and in minority is that we do not compromise upon our principles. That life may give us opportunities to jump ahead. But when those opportunities they come, you find principles is what makes the value of a man. Even within the times of the Imams, you find these companions, they were in the minority. A man comes to Imam as-Sadiq, he says, "Oh Imam, that why don't you have an uprising? You have so many followers around you." The Imam, he looks at that man. He says, "You see that oven over there? Go and sit in that oven." He says, "Oh master, I'm your follower. Why do you want to do this towards me?" The Imam, he says, "Very well, sit over here." As the man was sitting there, you find there was a companion by the name of Harun al-Makki walking by. The Imam says, "Harun al-Makki, go and sit in that oven." Harun al-Makki, without asking any questions, he goes, he sits in the oven. That other man, he says, "Oh Imam, oh master, why did you do this?" The Imam says, "Go and open the oven." When he opens the oven, he signs that Harun al-Makki is sitting there. Nothing occurs to Harun al-Makki. The Imam says, "Oh man, yes, there may be those who claim to be my followers, but I want individuals like this man. When I told him something unconditionally, he acted upon it." You find this is that reality which we find from the movement of Ashabul Kahf, that they were in the minority, they faced difficulties. You know, when they went towards the cave, Daqyanus, the ruler of that time, he sent people to follow these individuals. So what Allah he did is that there was a web from the spiders on that cave. There was a dog in front and their eyes were open so they would remain awake, that it would seem in that manner. You find one of the people who Daqyanus, the ruler he sent, was a muwahidun, was a believer in the deen. So on that cave, he covered it up and he wrote an inscription. You know when the verse says, Am hasibta anna ashab al-kafi war-rakimi, that do you suppose the people of the cave and the inscription, that this is that inscription, this is that rakim. You know, rakim means something which is written down. Even in modern Arabic, something which is markoom is something which is recorded. You know, I'll give you another example from the Quran which uses this word. The Quran, it says, Kalla inna kitab al-abrari lafi illiyin. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا إِلِّيُّونَ كِتَابٌ مَرْقُومٌ لَا يَشْهَدُهُ إِلَّا الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. The Quran, it says that the honorable people, their book will be in a high reality called the Illiyun. And it says you can't comprehend what this Illiyun is. It is an inscribed book. Only the close ones, only the muqarrab people, they can view their deeds. This verse goes to show that there are individuals upon this earth that because of the purity of their heart, they are able to witness the scrolls of deeds of the people. Doesn't the traditions of Ahlul Bayt state that every Jummah, the deeds of the followers of Ahlul Bayt are presented towards the Imam of their time? You know, whenever we have a hadith, we make sure it is in line with the Quranic principles and the Quranic realities. You find these individuals, they were within the cave for 309 years. Now the Quran, it says something interesting. It says they were in the middle of the cave. When the sun would rise, the rays would slant to the right. And when the sun would set, they would slant towards the left. And they were in a middle area, meaning that the sun would not shine directly upon their bodies. That the Quran is taking such delicacies towards the scientific realities, that if you're within a cave for 309 years and the sun is shining upon you, you find that your body will decay. But no, the Quran, then it speaks again. It says, وَتَحْسَبُهُمْ أَيْقَادًا وَهُمْ رُقُودٌ. It says if you looked at them, you would think they were awake, but in reality they were sleeping. Then it says, وَنُقَلِّبُهُمْ دَاتَ الْيَمِينِ وَدَاتَ الشِّمَالِ. And we would move their bodies to the right and we would turn them to the left. You know, if you're laying there for hundreds of years and your blood, it accumulated in one spot. You know, there's doctors within this room at different places. What would happen to the body? You find the body would begin breaking down. So the Quran says we would turn their bodies to the right and the left so that circulation would be there. And then it says, وَقَلْبُهُمْ بَاسِطٌ ذِرَائِهِ بِالْوَسِيدِ, and their dog would lay in front. You know, there's an interesting story with this verse in history. It's stated when Nasiruddin Tusi was being buried in Baghdad. He was being buried by Imam Musa al-Qadim. Who is Nasiruddin al-Tusi? You know, even on the moon today, NASA named a crater after Nasiruddin Tusi. That on the moon, there is something called the Tusi crater named after a Shia Itna Ashari alim. That when we have our intellectual heritage, it's our responsibility to learn this heritage and to preserve this heritage. You know, many of you sit in a math classroom. When you sit in a math classroom and you learn trigonometry, and you have the 6 functions of trigonometry, cosine, tangent, all of those, you find the inventor of these functions was Nasiruddin Tusi, a Shia alim. Now Nasiruddin Tusi, who was being buried by Imam Musa al-Qadim. Even today, when you go to the shrine of Imam al-Qadim in Qadimiyya, you find the grave of Nasiruddin Tusi is there, but it's on the women's side, it's not on the men's side. On the men's side, Shaykh al-Mufid is buried. You know, Nasiruddin Tusi, he says, that when I was being buried by my Imam. And when you're buried, your legs are out straight. He says, it is against my adab to be buried like this in front of the Imam. But Shariat, it does not allow me for my legs to be bent as I'm buried. So he says the solution is simple. When you bury me by Imam al-Qadim, write this ayat on my grave, وَكَلْبُهُمْ بَاسِطٌ ذِرَائِهِ بِالْوَسِيدِ. And their dog he laid with his legs stretched in front of him. That this is the etiquette of the ulama in the darbar of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. You know, I remember the story of Allama Tabatabai. A man, he insults Allama Tabatabai. They say that, do you know what you've done? You've insulted a scholar like Allama Tabatabai. He goes, he asks for forgiveness. He says, oh Allama, I thought you were one of the Roza Khans, one of the reciters of the Masaib. I didn't think you were an alim like this. You know what Allama Tabatabai, he says? He puts his head down. He says, how I wish I was the reciter of the Musibah of Hussein. He says, all of the work which I do academically, that 14 hours a day he would work on Al-Mizan. He says, all of my academic work, it doesn't compare to even one martiya for my grandfather Hussein. You find this is that etiquette. You find these individuals, 309 years they spend in the cave. After they wake up, they begin to speak to each other. They say, Kam labitna. That how long were we in here? And then the Quran, one of them replies by saying, قَالَ قَائِلٌ مِّنْهُمْ لَبِتْتُمْ يَوْمًا أَوْ بَعْدَ يَوْمٍ. We were here either a day or a part of a day. That in reality it was 309 years. The Quran, it's showing us a lesson. That the reality of time is this. Is that 70, 80 years may pass, but in reality it may feel like a blink of an eye. You know, some of our elders are over here that they sit within this hall. If you ask them that how fast did time go, they'll say that it's as if it was yesterday that we were sitting in Lucknow, we were sitting in Karachi, we were in Darus Salam, we were in our homelands, and it is like that life had passed us. You know, it's stated that Nabi Nuh lived for 2,500 years. When Malik al-Maut comes towards Nuh, he says, oh Nuh, I've come to take your soul. Nuh says, oh Malik al-Maut, do I have permission to go towards that tree which is next to me? Malik al-Maut says, oh Nuh, when I'm commanded to take a soul, I take it in the state that it's in. But since you are the Hujjat of Allah, since you are the Prophet of Allah, I will give you permission. You find when he goes over there, at that point Malik al-Maut says, oh no, you lived 2,500 years. How did you find this life? Nuh replies by saying, my life was as fast as this walk towards the tree. At that point Malik al-Maut says, oh Nuh, in Akhir zaman, there will be a group of people that they will live only 70 or 80 years. Sab'un wa tamanun, the hadith it says that. At that point, Nuh, he says 70 or 80 years. If my life was that short, I would spend it in one sajda. Malik al-Maut says, oh Nuh, they'll have time for everything, but they won't have time for that ibadat which your heart it desires, oh Nuh. You find 309 years in the cave. In reality, it felt like a day or a part of a day. Now as they're leaving the cave, naturally they feel hungry after that many years. So they says, we will go and find that food, ayyuhal azka ta'aman. We'll find that pure food which is the purest. So in front of them as they're leaving, you find the inscription, the Raqim was there. The hadith they state that one of them he said that each of us will pray to Allah through the wasila of a moment where it was difficult for us to obey Allah, but we obeyed Him. One of them he stands up. He says, oh Allah, there was a point in my life where there was a person working upon my farm. I didn't give him the wage because he had left before I could collect it. But with that money, I was able to buy a cow, and through that my farm it increased. After a number of years, I found that individual. So I said to him, oh man, I didn't give you that wage a number of years ago. He says, I don't believe it. So many years have passed. No, I don't want it. He says, no, you'll have to take it. He says, oh Allah, through the right of that moment, move this inscription. You find that rock, it moves 1/3. Another person comes up. He says, oh Allah, it was a time of famine. A lady, she came to me. She was hungry and I had rations. I said to her, I'll give you food if you enter my house and engage in certain activities with me. As she agreed to this, I saw that there was fear upon her face. I said, oh lady, take the rations and leave, and pray for Allah to forgive me. Oh Allah, I ask through the right of that moment. You find the move, it moves again. Then the third person, he comes up. He says, oh Allah, my parents, they asked me for water. So I brought them that water, but they had fallen asleep. So all night, I sat by the side of their sleeping place holding that glass of water. Nobody was there to watch my business, so it caused me harm. Oh Allah, I ask through the right of that moment. You find they leave. After 309 years, you can imagine your clothing will be different. The way you speak will be different. They go towards a bread maker. They say, oh man, can we have food? He gives them the bread. As he's giving the bread, they give him a coin. When he looks at the coin, he says, how did you get this coin? This is an ancient relic. They said, it is the economy, it is the currency of our time. The man, he begins to think there is something strange about these people. He says, who is the ruler of this time? They say, Daqyanus. He says, Daqyanus passed away hundreds of years ago. You find this incident, this story, it spread. These individuals, they return towards the cave, they go into that cave, they go to sleep again. The king of that time, he was an individual who was righteous. So they begin to discuss, what should we do with these individuals? One of them, he says, that we will build an edifice over them. But then the Quran, it says in this chapter, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ غَلَبُوا عَلَىٰ أَمْرِهِمْ لَا نَتَّخِذَنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ مَسْجِدًا, that we will build a masjid over these individuals. When people, they say that why do you pray in the shrines of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam? We reply with this verse from Ashabul Kahf, that these were individuals who were there, they were remains were there. But you find the Quran, it says, let's build a masjid over them. You know, I remember in the time of Sayyid Mohsin al-Hakim, Shah Faisal, he invited Mohsin al-Hakim towards Hajj. Shah Faisal, he sends his plane. Mohsin al-Hakim, he says, no, I don't want to go on that plane because it is with usurped money. Mohsin al-Hakim, he takes his own plane towards Hajj. When he goes over there, you find that Sayyid Mohsin al-Hakim was invited towards a gathering where there were scholars of other sects. One of the scholars there was the Mufti by the name of Abdullah bin Baz. As he's going around, he says salam to everyone. He doesn't say salam to Mohsin al-Hakim. Shah Faisal says that, why didn't you say salam towards my guest? He says it is because he is a Shia and he is a kafir. He says, why is he a kafir? He says, because they believe in the ta'wil of the Quran. They don't take the Quran literally. Mohsin al-Hakim, he says that if we take the Quran, if we are not allowed to take the Quran except at its literal value, then you will be at loss. Why? Because this individual was blind. He says, doesn't the Quran say, Man kana fi hadhihi al-a'ma fahuwa fil akhirati a'ma? that the one who is blind in this world, he'll be blind in the hereafter. He says, what is your faith then? After that, Shah Faisal, he says, O Mohsin al-Hakim, you are my guest. But there's one thing I don't understand about you people. It is the 21st century. Even today, you have these shrines with gold and you kiss the gold. Haven't we moved past that time period where we worship gold and rocks and stones? Sayyid Mohsin al-Hakim, his student, narrates that Sayyid Mohsin al-Hakim, when he narrates the story, he says to himself that, this person is not a rational person. If he was a rational person, I would reply to him with logic. But he is a king. He is someone materialistic. So he says, at that moment, I did the wasila Ababul Hawaij Aba Fadl Abbas. I said, oh Abbas, give me an answer which he will understand. It's stated at that point, a person walks into the room. He says, O Mohsin al-Hakim. He says to him, O King, Shah Faisal, there is a Quran from hundreds of years ago. When Shah Faisal, he takes the Quran, that Quran had gold upon it, it had silk upon it. He began to kiss that Quran. He began to touch that Quran. Mohsin al-Hakim, at that moment, he stands up, he yells, Bid'ah. Everyone in the room is thinking that what just happened? They said, you are Shia, you are yelling Bid'ah, this is an innovation. Mohsin al-Hakim, he says that you are kissing this gold, you are kissing this silk. Shah Faisal says, I am not kissing the gold. My intention is to do the ta'adeem and the respect of the Quran. Mohsin al-Hakim says, this is my answer. When we go towards Najaf and Karbala, it's not that we are worshipping the gold and the stone. We are doing the ta'adeem and the respect of those who are buried over there in the way you did the ta'adeem of the Quran. And you find this is that reality. If I expanded on this chapter of Ashabul Kahf and the lessons from it, you find the story, it would go on and on. But the reality is that this is that chapter which was recited by the head of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Which head is this? It's stated when this caravan was moving from Karbala towards Sham, Khuli would carry the head of Imam al-Hussein. And whenever Sayyida Zainab, the daughter of the Imam, would see the head, they would begin to cry. It's stated they would whip the daughters of Ahlul Bayt. A point it came where Khuli, he drops the head on the ground. When he drops the head, he tries to pick it up, but it doesn't lift off the ground. He says, O Zainul Abidin, why does the head of your father not lift? The Imam says, O my aunt, O my puppy Zainab, where are all of the children? As Sayyida Zainab was looking for the children, she finds that Sakina was missing. The reason the head of the Imam wouldn't lift was for his daughter. As Sayyida Zainab, she was looking for Sakina. She finds that she was sitting in the lap of a lady. This lady, she was dressed in black. Sayyida Zainab, she takes the daughter of her brother. She begins to thank that lady. As she's thanking that lady, she says, O Zainab, do you not recognize your mother Fatima, O Zainab? O Zainab, when you left Medina, you weren't. You find in this manner, this Ahlul Bayt, they went from Karbala towards Medina. But without a doubt, one of the most difficult moments, when they said to Imam Zainul Abidin, that what was that hardest moment? The Imam, he replied by saying, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham. The ulama, they stated that why did the Imam say Ash-Sham 3 times? You know what they say? They say there were 3 pains in the heart of the Imam. The first, Ash-Sham, represents the Bazaar of Sham. The second, Ash-Sham, represents the Darbar of Sham. The third, Ash-Sham, represents the Zindan of Sham. You know, how did Ahlul Bayt, they enter that courtyard of Sham? You know, it's stated that on one side Imam Zainul Abidin was there. Behind the Imam, Sayyida Zainab and Bibi Kulthum were there. Behind them were 2 children. The names of those children were Sakina and Muhammad al-Baqir. All of the Ahlul Bayt would surround these individuals. There were 700 people within that courtyard. Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, he says, in that courtyard we sat like servants, and we sat at that place where the ghulam, they would sit. You know, it's stated in that courtyard, there was a wife of Yazid by the name of Hind. When Sayyida Zainab, she saw Hind, Sayyida Zainab was trying to cover her face. She says, "Oh Kulthum, do you recognize that lady?" You know what Kulthum says? She says, "Oh my sister, after the shahadat of Abbas, I'm not able to see clearly." Sayyida Zainab says, she says, "Oh Kulthum, that is Hind which used to work in our house." You know, when they enter that court, you find Hind, she says, "Min ayyi biladin antum," that which city are you from? Sayyida Zainab, she says, "Nahnu min biladil Madina." We are from the city of Medina. It's stated Hind, she gets off her takht, she gets off her throne, she sits on the ground. She says, "Welcome, O people of Medina." She says, "I used to work in a house in Medina. I used to work in the house of Ali and Fatima." Sayyida Zainab says, "Do you know anyone from that house?" She says, "Yes, I know Abbas. I know Hussein. I know my mistress Zainab." You find Sayyida Zainab says, "Oh Hind, that is the head of Hussein. That is the head of Abbas." She says, "Oh Hind, I am Zainab." That what did Karbala do to Sayyida Zainab, that they didn't recognize Zainab after? Ala la'natullah ala al-qawm al-zalimeen. Ya Allah, we ask through the right of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. We ask through the right of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. You know, ulama, they've stated that when you put the wasila of Sayyida Zainab, Allah, He accepts that dua. Because the musibah of Zainab is that musibah about which we read in Ziyaratun Nahiya that Imam al-Zaman, he says, every morning, every evening, I cry tears of blood. This is that musibah. With tears in our eyes, we say, "Oh Allah, wherever the followers of Ahlul Bayt are sick and ailing, cure them." You know, a number of people have come to me that there are family members of theirs with cancer who are on their final moments. Ya Allah, through the right of Imam Zainul Abidin, cure them. Ya Allah, give us the strength to walk upon the footsteps of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. We pray for the intercession of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. And we pray for the hastening of the reappearance of the master of our time, Matam Hussein.
Sham, hai Sham, Sham, hai Sham, Sham, hai Sham. تیری امت کے زیور پہن کے، تیری امت کے زیور پہن کے، دیکھو نانا چلی ہوں میں شام شام، ہائے شام شام، ہائے شام شام۔ میں دیتی کفن تجھ کو بھیا، گر سر پہ ردا میرے ہوتی، گر ہوتے کھلے ہاتھ میرے، تیرے زخموں کو ہاتھوں سے دھوتی۔ پابندے رسن سر برہنا، پابندے رسن سر برہنا، دیکھو بھیا چلی ہوں میں شام شام، ہائے شام شام، ہائے شام شام۔ جس زینب کو تم نے برادر کبھی نظریں اٹھا کر نہ دیکھا، ہاتھ رسی سے میرے بندھے ہیں اور سر پر نہیں میرے پردہ، کیسے کوفے میں جاؤں گی غازی، کیسے کوفے میں جاؤں گی غازی، جبکہ بلوے میں آئے گا نام شام، ہائے شام شام، ہائے شام شام۔ جیسے دربار پاس آ رہا ہے، میرا دل ڈوبتا جا رہا ہے، میں تو گھر میں بھی کم بولتی تھی، بھائی تم کو تو سب کچھ پتا ہے، کس طرح سے کرے گی بتا دے، کس طرح سے کرے گی بتا دے، ایک شرابی سے زینب کلام شام، ہائے شام شام، ہائے شام شام، ہائے شام۔ دل یہ کہتا ہے رو رو کے بھیا، کاش عباس موجود ہوتا، کاٹ دیتا وہ اس کی زباں کو، کوئی باغی اگر مجھ کو کہتا، دیکھتی پھر میں کس طرح لیتا، دیکھتی پھر میں کس طرح لیتا، کوئی زینب کا مجمع میں نام شام، ہائے شام شام، ہائے شام شام، ہائے شام۔ یا حسین 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 یا حسین۔ میں وہی زینب مضطر ہوں، نہ پہچانا مجھے، میں وہی زینب مضطر ہوں، نہ پہچانا مجھے، میں وہی زینب مضطر ہوں، نہ پہچانا مجھے، میں تباہ حال ہوں، بے گھر ہوں، نہ پہچانا مجھے، میں وہی زینب مضطر ہوں، نہ پہچانا مجھے، میں وہی زینب مضطر ہوں، نہ پہچانا مجھے، کیا خبر تھی کیا پتا تھا یوں کبھی اجڑیں گے، ایک پہر میں میرے پیارے یوں سبھی بچھڑیں گے، میں تباہ خاک پہ بیٹھی ہوں،
نہ پہچانا مجھے میں وہی زینب مضطر ہوں نہ پہچانا مجھے میں وہی زینب مضطر ہوں نہ پہچانا مجھے کھینچا بستر سر سے چادر اسیر کر ڈالا وقت نے نانا مجھے یوں فقیر کر ڈالا ایک چادر تو ترستی ہوں نہ پہچانا مجھے میں وہی زینب مضطر ہوں نہ پہچانا مجھے میں وہی زینب مضطر ہوں نہ پہچانا مجھے بابا میرا تھا نبی کا وسیع پتہ ہے تجھے وہ علی تھا وہ ولی تھا جری پتہ ہے تجھے میں اسی شیر کی بیٹی ہوں نہ پہچانا مجھے میں وہی زینب مضطر ہوں نہ پہچانا مجھے میں وہی زینب مضطر ہوں نہ پہچانا مجھے بابا دیکھو تیری بیٹی میں وہی زینب ہوں اماں زہرا ایک نظر ہو میں وہی زینب ہوں کوئی غمخوار نہیں میرا نہ پہچانا مجھے میں وہی زینب مضطر ہوں نہ پہچانا مجھے میں وہی زینب مضطر ہوں نہ پہچانا مجھے
السلام عليك يا رسول الله المصطفى محمد بن عبد الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين المرتضى علي بن أبي طالب. السلام عليك يا فاطمة بنت محمد الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين الشهيد. السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا شهداء كربلاء وأسيران كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الباقر. السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق. السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر القاظم. السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الجواد. السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الهادي. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي العسكري. السلام عليك يا إمام صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان الأمان الأمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. أجل الله تعالى فرجه وسحر الله مخرجه. السلام عليك يا سيدي من الزهراء ورحمة الله وبركاته.
مومن و مومنات، یہ سورہ فاتحہ کی درخواست کی گئی ہے. خورشید زیدی بنت میر حسن علی، زہرا بیگم بنت ناصر حسین، اظہار الحسن بنت شجاعت علی اور سید علی حفیظ ابن میر حسن علی، حسن رضا ابن اظہار الحسن اور کل مومن اور مومنات کے لیے. اور مومنون مومنات یہ بھی اعلان سماعت فرما رہے ہیں مولانا بلال صاحب کے ساتھ جو ابھی یوز سیشن ہوگا یہاں پر، جو بھی یہاں رکنا چاہیں وہ ان کے لیے حاضر ہیں یہاں پر موجود مولانا بلال بر محمد وآل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم. اور مومنون مومنات یہ جو مجلسوں کا سلسلہ جاری ہے، اس کی کل آخری مجلس اعزا ہے جو کہ ٹائمنگ وہی 8 بجے، اس کے فوراً بعد مجلس شروع کر دی جائے گی. تمام مومنون مومنات سے شرکت کی درخواست ہے. بر محمد وآل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم.